Great. Well, it's one of those days, Mark, where you'll be well aware of all of the noise and everything else on the outside following Tuesday. In some respects, you don't really want to be talking about the football. You just get to one of these moments where you've got to go out there and make it happen at the weekend.
Yeah, rinse, repeat, really. We've not done that enough. We've not backed up performances enough. And we've got to understand the situation that we're in. I've said it before. And the inconsistencies from one performance to the next have got to change. We've got to make sure that we find the level that we need to in the weekend. And in the moments that we've got the game, we've got to take it. And quite simply, we've all got to step up and deliver that and play with that understanding first, pride, passion, whatever the words are. You can throw every adjective under the sun out there. But none of us are satisfied, and certainly it was a disappointing night, Tuesday night, to end on the losing team, particularly when you see the results turn out as they did elsewhere. But the story's the same, 17 games now, so obviously we're ticking games down, but we've got to go and get results and give performances. And in many ways, the one game less, but the competition doesn't change dramatically from the other night with the results the way that way went. But for us, we've got to find that level, that we know is in there because we've seen it enough times. And you only have to go back a couple of weeks to see the Ipswich level, for example. It's a very different game. Obviously, the context is very different. The atmosphere is very, very different. But on the nights where it looks like that and it feels like that, we've got to generate our own atmosphere. We've got to generate our own tempo and run harder, work harder, be more aggressive, have a bit more fight about us, and find quality in the moments that we have. So that's the recipe going into the weekend, and we have to try and do that at a time when there is zero positivity around, with some, and get head out of our backside, because that's what it's about, and step up and deliver. That's what we've got to do. We've got plenty of weeks to do it, and that's the challenge for all of us.
I know it's easy for me to say sitting here, but with the approach to this weekend, is it really important to have that laser focus on what you guys are doing and try and dial out all of the rest of it as best you can? I know it's easier said than done.
It is absolutely important. Look, we are human beings that are involved in this. It's not robots playing the game. So, of course, there is an element of confidence that is drained from the team, or even drains from the team in game. There's no doubt in getting away from it. You can't hide from that. It's in plain sight for everybody to see, and the way in which that's come about over a number of weeks has been very, very clear. And so you have to understand that isn't easy always for everybody to do, but at the same time, it's our responsibility to do it, and I have to handle that and cope with that, and so do the staff and the coaches, and so do the players, and we have to find the level that is more consistent and at a better level, and one that we've shown more often over a long period of time. And I think over a big chunk of time, 3 years, we've shown it more often than not. But over the last 3 months, we haven't shown it enough by any stretch of the imagination. And we find ourselves in the reality of a season that promised so much after 10 games. It was probably a little false then. That has unravelled into one that is looking very, very difficult. And the reality of our situation is very clear. We know where we're heading at the moment if we don't improve our results. You can't hide from that. So that's our responsibility to do better. But there is a third of a season to go, and everything will feel a heck of a lot better with a win. So that's what we've got to search for, and when we get that, then we are really hopeful that can spring on to better things for us.
You mentioned the other day that you'd seen this pattern, I guess, with your eyes, but also looking at the data of starting games strongly and then losing your way a bit at key moments. And Tuesday night, similar sort of pattern in that the start was good, the principles were there. Is that confidence or lack of confidence in effect that things can change in that way so quickly?
Maybe a little bit, maybe a bit of a mentality. If we score a chance that we have early on, I think this is where it's so, like, I want to coin a Cambridge phrase I get hammered for, fine lines in games. So many games have been close and have gone the wrong way for us. That game, there was nothing in, really. Absolutely nothing in. A wonderful, wonderful strike has put them ahead. And whilst the game doesn't look necessarily as all out full endeavour, full all the qualities that we've loved in our team over the last few years. Whilst it isn't there, we've got to find a way of winning those games. And I think because of the reaction or the results that we've had, it's too easy for everybody we miss a chance and everybody gets disheartened because it's a bit like, oh, that was our moment. Well, there's a lot of time left in games where you can influence the outcome. And we have to make sure we grab the game and understand that and use the experiences that we've had and we've got to deliver that. And we've got some good players. It's no good talking about it, it's no good saying it, it's no good thinking you're a good player if you're not delivering. So and thinking you're a good coach if you're not delivering. That's where we are at the moment. We've got to do better. But we absolutely believe in what we're trying to do and the way in which we're doing it. And in amongst a really bad spell, there's been good performances, good parts of games, good outcomes, but not enough wins. Simple as that. And that carries with you a little bit, and you can see that in a little bit of the performance. And you can't really compare too many times Ipswich to Cheltenham because they're just completely different games. But we've got to make sure that we get the results that we need and the performances that we need more often. And I think the bigger disappointment is, yes, the result, but it's who it's against. It was a game that you think you're going to win and you can win, but we have to play like that and we have to fight like that and we have to look like we're completely understanding of where we are and give everything that we've got, because if we do that, people will accept it all day long.
And with the team selection for this weekend, where you find yourself with the squad overall, defensive options really good on the back of what happened in January and the injury situation as well. Unfortunately, at the opposite end of the team, you mentioned for Jiri Okunabire, his injury on Tuesday night, Harvey Nibbs as well. It's no great revelation or insight, but the front part of the team, that's the area where you're going to have to be a bit more canny, because clearly the options aren't there in the same way.
Yeah, and if it stops us being free-flowing and really creative in a lot of our play, then we're going to have to find ways of grinding out some results, because we are obviously a little bit lighter in terms of the options. We've got the option of playing some different shapes with what we've got, so that might help us over this third of the season, if you like. And we've got to make sure that we go flat out and look like a team that's going to put teams under big pressure and create waves of attacks and sustain attacks and get people excited when they watch the team play. That's what we've got to get back to, and we've got to find. So we need the ones that have been playing to continue and to find a better level and to push, to give more. We need the ones that haven't to step up and contribute and fly into getting the team and to contribute to a winning team. And in the case of George Thomas, who's getting closer, we hope he can have a real impact as well. So it might mean changes of shape. Sometimes it might mean players playing in slightly different positions in order to counter the fact that we're a couple of players light in there than we were a week ago. But at the same time, we are where we are. This is the challenge that we're all faced with. It was never going to be easy and simple, and only a couple of places different makes a whole world of difference and turns it into a season that's maybe heading for a bit of disappointment to one that looks a lot better. And we're absolutely confident that can be the case, but we've got to turn around from difficult days very, very quickly and find a way of being a more constant threat in our attacking play, because we haven't been that enough. Whilst we've made ourselves actually fairly solid and structured and not given much away in the last 3 or 4 games, we've got to make sure we get the other end of that balance right as well, because we need points, but we need wins, and obviously scoring goals is the way we're going to get them.
Yeah, and Oxford, interesting opponents insofar as they've been on a bit of a poor run, but probably on the evidence of what we've seen previously from them, not the sort of side that will turn up and just sit in a low block. They'll want the ball, they'll try and play football.
Well, yeah, they've got some excellent individuals and a difficult run themselves in terms of results. I was at their game against Barnsley a couple of weeks ago, and we know the qualities of some of their players. It's one of our better performances in the season. You remember we lost there really, really late early in the season. That was a tough one to take that day because I thought the performance was exceptional, and we really played with a courage about us, and that I think is part of what we need. We need that physical courage and commitment to a game, and we need that courage to take the ball and to make things happen and to not take that simple, easy step of I'll pass backwards or I'll not be available for the ball and things. And we've got to find that in all the ways in which we play. We watched the game yesterday against Plymouth that they had on Tuesday night, another team flying obviously at the moment. And it will be a game of 2 teams that have had difficult times in terms of results recently playing against each other. both desperate for a result, and both desperate to show better levels of performance, more in line with the squads that we've got. So it's certainly one that we're going to have to be good in. That's obvious for every game that we play. But I think it's also one that will have to be that element of courage to be on the ball and to take the ball and to make things happen. But the physical commitment that we'll need to show that we're really up for the fight is going to be most important. And the only way we'll get an atmosphere at the moment in the stadium, because understandably people are a little bit finding it tough to watch, is we're going to have to make sure we drive the level and the intensity and atmosphere ourselves. And people will come with that all the time. Cambridge fans have always been the same in that sense. You know, they get behind a team that is flat out and playing with a foot to the floor. So we've got to find that in amongst everything else. And then the atmosphere changes as we go through. So we know we're not a million miles away from that, even though sometimes it looks and feels like it. Had we drawn the game the other night, we'd have been a point closer to everybody else. Had we got a win the other night, the mood and atmosphere would be wholly different. And had we scored the first goal in 20 minutes, the whole atmosphere and performance probably changes as well. It can change very, very quick. And the problems that we've got and going through at the moment, we'll all feel a heck of a lot better when we win the next game.
Cool, that's great from me.
Morning, Mark. You acknowledged after Tuesday night's defeat that something has to change. Why shouldn't it be you, the head coach, that has changed?
Because I'm good at the job. I'm the same guy that everybody sang about not too long ago and helped us win lots of games. And sometimes the brilliant work that goes on in this club isn't always displayed at 3 o'clock on a Saturday. Ultimately, that's the biggest responsibility. But there is not one doubt in my mind, and I think in the majority of people that are in senior positions in this club's mind, that I am definitely the right person to lead the charge and to continue the brilliant work that we've started. No one's happy with the situation that we're in. We can point to lots of reasons as to why and contributing factors as to why we find ourselves in the position that we're in. But we're also in control of what happens next to some degree. We're in control of the mentality that we go and approach things with, and the mindset that we go with. And misery loves company. So those that want to be miserable, crack on. But it's down to us to create a different mentality and to show the fight, energy, endeavour, and quality to get ourselves the results that we need. But the big picture of this club and everything that we're trying to build and develop and everything will certainly be better served with me being here. I have no doubt about that, and I'm always very, very wary of coming across sort of immodest, because I don't like that. But you got to know when you back yourself, and you got to know when you're in the right place and you're the right person to lead something, and I certainly know that.
So from what you're saying there, you haven't considered resigning at any point recently?
No, I mean, what a question that is. Never in a million years. Why would you walk away from the job you've wanted your whole life? And we're on the path to make this club really, really strong. And I think if you're a fan that's been here decades, which quite a few have, you understand the cyclical nature of football, that things don't just go good, great, brilliant, excellent, outstanding. That's just not how it works. Now, we expected and hoped that this season would have been better than it is at the moment, but we've got 16, 17 games to influence that it can still be a successful season. So we have to forget the mindset and move on from the fact that the season's a failure. We've got a third of it to go and we have to make sure it's a successful one. But the flip side of that is everything we want to do here, everything that we're building here, the club that we're becoming, we're doing as a team, and we accept the responsibility that the season isn't planning out exactly as we wanted it to at the moment. But in the big picture of this club, we're building a club that has a better 100 years than the previous 100. And there's no doubt we are doing that, and we are on course for that. So in that 100 years, you're going to have some down ones and some dark ones, and this is certainly a period like that at the moment. But absolutely, we're very committed to understanding where we are, understanding what we need next, and knowing that we can get back on track to that in not only this season, but continue the path of the last couple.
I think a major concern of the fan base is not necessarily the position that you find yourself in, but how quickly you've actually fallen from where you were near the start of the season. From what you're saying there, you're obviously confident that you can turn things around. Why do you have that belief that you can get back to that side that you once were?
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't expect that we were a top 6 team then, and we shouldn't expect to be there now. The truth is, if we finish 5th from bottom in this league, that's a success. So that's the reality. So if we can manage to do that and we can get into positions above that line and stay in the league, it's been a brilliant season for us. That doesn't mean that we'll accept not doing it, but we've got plenty about us. We've seen it enough times, but we have to do more than that. We have to show more consistency and quality in games to get the results that we need. But so that's what we work towards. That's absolutely what we're working towards. And the loudest voices are obviously the ones that are discerning, and I completely understand that. You pay your money to be entertained and to watch a team that wins. Other people have been here for decades and know that they just want a club that's sustainable, ambitious, and making progress. And we are significantly a transformed club from the one we were a couple of years ago. Hence the reaction that I'm still sat here and speaking and will be, because that is just the mindset that we're building something. It takes time. It takes relationships and it takes teams to do it. So I'm always the front face that has to stand and accept those questions and completely understand them. But at the same time, there's a team of us that are building something, and we will achieve it. So there's no question about that. There'll be some setbacks within that, but it won't deter us from our ambitions to give this city a club that is able to play at the highest level possible in the English pyramid, if we can possibly get there. B, build facilities and infrastructure that is befitting of the club and the level that we want to get to, does it in a sustainable fashion, and creates some unbelievable memories along the way. But part of those memories are brilliant because you go through some tough bits as well. So that's the now bit, but change doesn't necessarily be the answer to get you through it.